Let's talk now about the Praxic Blade.
Yes! Yes! Praxic Blade is the lightsaber. Very customizable. It has cores, it has mods, it has colors. You get the Praxic Blade in the campaign, but then after that, that's the real chase that we've been talking about. Some of the 12 colors, 3 of them are in the shop, but the other 9 are all like random. And I think that is one of the best decisions they've made since Final Shape. Like, we all talk about Destiny 1 so much because we remember those moments of like, oh my god, I got Gjallarhorn. When you get that cyan crystal or that dark crystal or that red crystal, like, that sticks with you and you remember that.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sax Talks Games channel for a very special Destiny 2 podcast. My name is Sax, and today I'm joined by 2 returning guests and friends of the show to discuss all things Destiny 2 Renegades. Starting first with a man with the internet's most recognizable bed sheets. Llama, how are you doing today?
God damn it, dude. I'm good. Oh my god.
Hey,
You won't be seeing them for much longer, though.
Hey, I pumped you. Yeah, I know. I pumped you guys both up on your original podcast, and then today I'm getting you. So
That's more than fair.
and last but not least, rounding out our conversation is the internet's favorite amphibious blended beverage, Toad Smoothie. What is up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, guys. So thank you both for joining, and today we are diving into everything Renegades. But real quick, I want to do a little housekeeping, guys. So this week, myself and a couple of my buddies, we had a podcast named Forced to Pod. Forced to Pod is a variety gaming / lifestyle podcast. The show radiates Midwest dad vibes, mixing a blend of hunting, racing, sports talk, and our deep-seated love for Costco hot dogs. This will also be a new era for the show, as I'm soon to be a first-time father. So I can't wait to hear all the wisdom, good, bad, and different, that the boys have prepared for me. So we got some surprises up our sleeves. We can't wait to share them with you. So make sure you subscribe here on Sax Talks Games, or find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But that's not why you're here today. You're here to talk Destiny 2 Renegades. So guys, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So Destiny 2 Renegades released on December 2nd. And so now we've had it in our hands for about a month and a half. 1.5 months we've had it. In the middle of that time, we've also had the holidays and, you know, the sleepiness of getting people back to work and such. So it's been a little quiet. But as a reminder for everyone, in Renegades, we received a brand new Star Wars-inspired campaign, a new seasonal activity called the Lawless Frontier, a new class of weapons known as blasters. We have a couple new exotic weapons, most notably the Praxic Blade. We also got the Heirloom, and then we got a new dungeon, Equilibrium, and what, to me, in my spirit, kind of feels like so much more, but it wasn't. I was looking at the roadmap, and that's really about all they introduced to the game.
It's kind of it, isn't it?
It feels like there was more change to it. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor. Llama, I'll start with you. Like, can you give me a top-level breakdown, your thoughts on Renegades, and then we're gonna dive into the individual pieces after I get both your guys' opinions on just the overall package.
Well, I thought it was very good. I think if Renegades came out during like the year of the Witch Queen, for example, it would be maybe regarded as one of the best DLCs of all time. It's just obviously, you know, it came out now instead. Still very good, but it was a great time. It was great for me on the channel as well. Just, you know, there was loads to do, and actually one of the things that I liked about Renegades is how long it lasted, because with Edge of Fate, I felt like it only lasted for maybe 2 weeks before I was just like, okay, now I just need to play Caldera 24/7 and that's it. But, you know, with Renegades, it felt like it lasted the whole month of December, which I really liked. So very solid DLC. I think it came at the right time for Destiny. It needed a win after Edge of Fate, so I'm glad, especially Ashen Iron as well. Very, very good. I'd say like 8.5 out of 10. And maybe what could have made it better was another additional activity, perhaps. Maybe something that's a bit more end game. Maybe something that's like a harder Lawless Frontier. But I don't know. It was very good overall. Like, great activities, great weapons, good story as well, and kept us playing with the Praxic Blade, and we can go into that later with the crystals. I know Toad can talk a lot about that as well. So
I got a lot to say about the Praxic Blade.
Absolutely. So how do you feel that Bungie executed on this vision they laid out for us? I mean, I don't even remember the original release date of the announcement for Renegades, But I remember the excitement plus kind of weariness around it. We're like, how's this going to land? What do you think?
Was it when they talked about Frontiers? I think it was when they name dropped Frontiers. They told us about Apollo and Behemoth, were the code names for the expansion. Yeah, I'm not gonna have as sophisticated of an answer as Llama did. I'm gonna echo a lot of what he said, though. I think it was a lot better than Edge of Fate. I think most people can agree it was a lot better than Edge of Fate. And for me, I just I don't know, I'm not a very complicated player. I agree with what Llama said about how it lasted longer. That was something I noticed. I was like, dude, it's Christmas time, and I'm still talking about Renegades as if it's like a week old. And yeah, when you said it's been a month and a half, part of me was like, oh wow, it has been a month and a half. Like it still feels kind of recent. And I think it just stuck the landing better than Edge of Fate did. I was certainly, which I'm biased, big Star Wars fan. Like that is,
me too.
That should be said. Yeah, if you enjoy Star Wars, you're going to like it.
See, that's good because I have no like I'm not negative towards it, but I could not be more middling on Star Wars. Like that's kind of where I'm at. So sorry.
I think my thing with Renegades and I shouldn't really be putting this on Renegades. It's more of just a Destiny problem. But a month and a half later, I find myself going, okay, why do I want to come back to Destiny? Like what brings me on every day, not as a content creator, but like as a player, not as someone who's grinding the Praxic Blade, but as someone who just wants to play the game. And I still don't really feel that, but I think that was never reasonable to expect Renegades to fix that problem, like the portal is something people bring up. Renegades was never going to fix the portal. But I think it did what it could have done very well. I don't think I can assign a number value to it, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than Edge of Fate.
I feel in a very similar manner to both of you guys. But what I will say is I think that this was the first step in a positive direction.
Yes.
Now, some people would say that, hey, I say some people would say because I have seen this in my own communities and online, people saying almost like a cop out, they can't be happy for Destiny. They can't be happy for Bungie for doing it because they're like, oh, well, they had to do it with Star Wars. And it's like, well, hold up, because you were not excited before. And then they nailed it, and then you're like, okay, well, it was good, but that kind of thing, the qualifiers. So
now it's a backhanded compliment.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
It's almost like when an artist has a big hit, but then they had co-writers on. They're like, okay, well, I got to go do one by myself, which is so backwards for a company like Bungie, right? That has created such incredible IPs that we're playing for decades and decades and talking about and have formulated. But I think that there's been a little bit of confidence lost, right? Over time. And I talked about this with Scarrow recently. We were talking about chaining W's, right? It seems like we get 1, 2, and then we're stumbling off a deep L, in the midst there. And so it felt like it in the final shape. We came out of Into the Light, into the final shape, into Echoes, which was kind of lukewarm, but not terrible. And then we hit such a low for so many people in Revenant. And so then Heresy, for some people, they needed Revenant to hit to have a chance, to keep that confidence. Heresy was so good, but there was such a hard time to even pull people back
from Revenant.
Yeah, I know.
And then you almost slap people on the hand for giving it another shot, right? So they came back. Those that came back after Revenant into Heresy, if they weren't really locked in, if they didn't have a community, if they didn't really have a clan that was active and playing, that's my experience. That's what I've seen, in my own audience is people come back and then they were hit with the Edge of Fate, and Llama, kind of what you were inferring to is just what are we doing now?
Yeah.
What is this? I don't want to grind all this stuff up, and I feel like I've had stuff sunset. So this was, for me, this was a step in the right direction, but I'm really, really eager to see how they can chain some W's here and kind of get into it. But let's break down Renegades a little more. So I do want to talk.
Say real quick, you mentioned sunsetting, just a memory, a Kira flash in my mind. I don't remember when they announced that they were not going to be sunsetting things anymore, but you probably remember Dado made an apology video because he told people they're never going to not sunset these things. My brother, the day before they said that, okay, everything can be used again, destroyed his entire vault. Everything. And then the very next day, all of a sudden, Mindbenders is back. Everything is back. He was gutted. I thought Dado's apology was so funny and strangely appropriate.
Yeah.
I forgot that even happened until you said that.
The day before?
That's
so bad.
The day before.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's brutal. And so let's go ahead now. Let's shift into Renegade specific stuff. So the Star Wars inspired campaign. Toad, how did you feel like? Did you feel like things shifted too far one direction, too far other? I know we have the love for Star Wars, but let's try to remain like biased in the middle and understand where the other side's coming from. People who say, "Hey, like I'm a Destiny player. I get this Star Wars out of my Destiny," whatever. Like, I think that's very funny because there has always been stuff that's inspired. Like, every space-faring tale is going to have some sort of pull from something as influential as Star Wars. But, like, what do you think of the campaign and them walking that line between Star Wars and Destiny and blending the two?
Yeah, so that is honestly, it's a difficult question to answer as a Star Wars fan. Like, I am undeniably biased, but I don't know if, again, as a Star Wars fan, if I would say they handled it tastefully or not. I think they handled it generally very tastefully. Like they said in a Vidoc, when they were originally approaching Lucasfilm with this idea, they were like, what is the bad version of this? Like, how can we do this and it suck? And I don't think they did that. I don't think it was that gratuitous. But, you have your walkers, you have a lightsaber, you have Kylo Ren and a Death Star. Like, you have things that are Star Wars. And I do understand the criticism of, well, like you just said, this is Destiny, not Star Wars. I still think it's fun. Like, that's why it's so difficult to answer. And one thing I disagree with, I've seen a few times in my community, is there are some people who are definitely a bit more jaded towards the crossover. So I understand, but they would be like, oh, well, they're just mixing two aesthetics that don't match at all. I'm like, whoa. I completely disagree with that. Like, the Star Wars and Destiny was so inspired by Star Wars and Halo. Like, it's literally classed as mythic sci-fi. You know what else is mythic sci-fi? Star Wars. Like, these two things really do go together very well. And I found myself pleasantly surprised by how few times outside of things like walkers and lightsabers and Kylo Ren, I found myself going, oh yeah, this meshes very well. Like, it would take a very overtly Star Wars reference to pull me back into realizing, oh yeah, this is a Star Wars expansion, like the walkers.
Sure.
But I think generally they mixed it well, although I am very biased. So
That's fair. Llama, I guess I'll pitch the same to you and see if you have anything to add on that as well. Like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm like Toad. I like Star Wars as well. But I don't know, maybe not as much. I'm trying to gauge the level here. but no, I like prequels are my favorite. That might tell you something. But
okay, yeah, so we're on opposite ends of the team here.
Right. So we have I mean, I liked it. It's like he said, there's a Death Star, there's a plot to destroy it, there's like multiple planets that you have to destroy the dish to disable the connection, lower the shield, whatever. It's very, very much like a reference to it. But I don't know. I always just think those are nice little additions that are a faithful reference to the material they're based on. It's like everything that happened in Renegades. If it wasn't Star Wars, you would expect to have walkers in Destiny. You would expect to have some sort of energy blade. Star Wars and Destiny aren't the only ones that have that. Like, there's all sorts of other things like blast weapons, not terribly inconceivable in a universe that has space magic. So what else? I mean, there was some, like, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. I to be honest with you, I don't particularly understand the criticism of people who say, like, I want to play Destiny in Destiny, not Star Wars in Destiny. Like, I don't know, not really something I understood. To me, it's like another Destiny DLC that has some references to Star Wars, and like, that's cool, and I like it, and that's where it stops. I don't really look any deeper into it.
I feel like you can try and, if you're looking for something, you'll see it more than it is maybe actually there, especially if you're looking to dislike it.
Yeah, but there's lots of elements that, like, from Renegades that could be a reference to Star Wars that already existed in Destiny. Like, we already have an ice planet, we already have Europa. You know, there's all sorts of other foresty planets. We had Venus in the first game, Mars, obviously, like cities on Mars, things like that. I guess, to be honest, the only thing that is the most like egregious reference to Star Wars is the bloody Praxic Blade. I don't think there's much else. That's the only thing. And it's good as well. I'm glad. Like, oh, imagine if the Praxic Blade was like a bad weapon.
Yeah,
dude, I might be out of a job.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I don't think there was. I don't think there is. We could Doctor Strange this. I don't think there's a single timeline where the Praxic Blade came to Destiny and was bad. Like, I don't know how they could have, right? Like, that's the type of thing you bring over.
And Bungie wanted it that way. There's a reason they haven't like nerfed it into the ground.
Yeah,
they want it to be good
on purpose.
For sure. I posted just a silly. I mean, it wasn't even optimized. It was just like 6 Guardians using Praxic Blade against War Priest. I posted the other day, and it's like, I don't know. I had like 2 people being like, why are you using a special weapon against a raid boss? And I'm like, for fun? I don't know. Like, it's a video game. Like, we're just trying to have fun. And thankfully, actually, before I could even get back to responding to them, people were like in there saying the same thing. Like, dude, it's just fun. It's just fun to do that. And I had talked last season about how I was feeling that drain, feeling that Destiny was a job. And not just from the content creation side of things, but every time you want to play Destiny, it felt like I was clocking in. It felt like, okay, and a lot of that was that power grind in climbing up. And I was actually worried that we were not going to have the power grind. Like, I was worried about there being no increase. I've not thought about it one time since Renegades released. Like, Llama, where'd you come down on that? Because I know you really were grinding for power last season, even before they optimized things.
I think one of the main concerns that people were airing before Renegades came out was like, well, if there's no power grind, the content is going to last like less time, because, like, you know, it feels kind of bad to say that like the leveling grind is content, but I don't know, it just doesn't really make too much sense in my head. But I think even if there was a level grind, even if there was like maybe an extra 100 levels thrown on there, you would get that done in like 2 days. And the main gameplay loop, well, one of the main gameplay loops of Renegades was the Praxic Blade and getting all the colors, if you chose to interact with that. And that is going to take you weeks, especially if you're more of a casual player. I don't know, I think it took me maybe, I want to say 2-3 weeks to get all the colors. And I play the game all the time. So for somebody else, it would take much longer. And, you know, comparing that grind to like a power grind, I think, you know, looking back, that concern was totally not really like valid at all, because even if there was a power grind, there was plenty of other content to be, you know, sinking your teeth into. And, you know, I've said this loads, like on Twitter and in my videos, like one of the things I love the most about Renegades was the cosmetic chase. It just keeps you playing so often, like just to get that red crystal, to get the black one, all the other cool ones like cyan, I think is really nice. It just keeps you playing, keeps you spinning that, you know, wheel, trying to get the RNG. I love it. That's because I made a video recently where like the things that I love about Destiny 1 that Destiny 2 doesn't do, and they nailed the cosmetic chase in the first game. Toad, did you play Destiny 1 back in the day?
Yeah, day one.
Yeah. So, you know, you've got things like the dead orbit shaders, like things like that are just very rare, ships that are really rare, raid shaders, things like that. That's what kept people playing in the first game. And the fact that they've brought back some element of that now into Renegades, I really like that, because it extended the playtime a lot.
I took the power grind concerns. I'll be honest, I felt that too, but that was before we really knew. Like, we didn't know how we were acquiring the different colors for the Praxic Blade. We also didn't know how strong it was going to be. You know, what build crafting capabilities is going to unlock, right, as a weapon in the game. It's so impressive how it synergizes with everything, right, like top to bottom. The amount of times I see like, hey, this build has a Praxic Blade in it, and I feel like when I click on that, I'm going to be, okay. I've seen, and like every time I get surprised by something else that it can do, a different buff or a different debuff, whatever that it can apply and kind of go there. But the one thing they nailed regardless is the fact that you can play through all of the Renegades activities and power up.
Yeah.
That's something that they completely swung and missed on in the Edge of Fate,
It's so
and it was
obvious.
it was like this. How I said it last week was like, this is the cardinal sin of the Edge of Fate for me, which was the fact that you could not level. Like, there was no reason after you hit that max. I have so many triumphs from the Edge of Fate that I probably will not do for years and years until there's like a lull and I challenge myself to go back and play that content. Because why would I go suffer through Mythic, related stuff, when I was able to, tied to the power level, hit the tier 5 gear, and then the stuff was kind of okay, but the blaster weapons, we've lamented Edge of Fate, so that's not what today's about. That's
Is this
kind
a
of where,
post-mortem on Renegades or Edge of Fate?
Yes.
well, I do think that it's hard to have a nuanced conversation about like why we enjoyed Renegade so much without comparing it directly to its.
And ultimately, they were both part of this Frontiers package, right?
Yeah.
It's like that was Bungie's plan. Their year plan was both
For
of
sure.
them.
Yeah.
So speaking of being able to level up through the activities, Toad, how do you feel about the Lawless Frontier activity? And then let's not talk yet about invasions. I want to talk about that here in a second.
Ah, damn it. Yeah. Okay. So
You'll get your chance. I know
I want to briefly echo or go back to something Llama said about the power grind. Something you were saying about leveling up through Renegades. So I definitely don't play as much as either of you. I don't think like I play for content, then I go edit or animate and do something else. So I went into Renegades, like, what was the chest that Zavala gave you? Is it 300 power?
Yeah, 300.
I went in at that, 300 power.
Gotcha.
And starting at 300, I didn't think about power once. Like, it leveled me up so quickly doing the legendary campaign and playing Lawless Frontier that I never even had to think about it. So to your point about leveling not really being something that maybe I wouldn't go so far as say is not necessary in D2, but Renegades was a good test of, can we go without the power increase? And I think they can. I mean, I think Renegades prove that they can. But the Lawless Frontier, so when I first saw Lawless Frontier, when I first started playing it, I wasn't too hot on it, but after playing it as much as I played it, I think it is one of the best pieces of like seasonal repeatable content that we've gotten since I don't know when. Like, I genuinely get excited playing it, and I had so many like Arc Raiders, Helldivers moments playing with friends, playing on stream where, you just barely make it out, or it's like shit's going down, you're popping Renegade abilities. Like, that felt cool. And leveling up the Syndicates to me felt really cool. It had another layer to it to complete and go explore. So I loved Lawless Frontier. I really disliked the way Bungie has handled seasonal activities since seasons have been a thing. They're not quite challenging enough to be interesting, and if you're a player who has been playing for a while, they're probably not rewarding enough to be interesting either. Lawless Frontier really, at least on the challenge and intrigue levels, and the rewards to an extent, really hit for me. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, Llama, I see you nodding over there. How are you feeling about this?
Well, the same thing. I think you asked a similar question when we were speaking last time, and I loved it. It was one of the. It's like you were saying, Toad, that Renegades didn't, or so far it's like you want to play Destiny just because you want to play Destiny, right? Not just because you need to play it for content or whatever. And I think one of the things I told you, Sax, was that like with Lawless Frontier, it was actually after I turned off my stream for the day and I was done with stuff, and I was like, oh, I can go play some Lawless Frontiers. Like, feeling that I actually want to go and play the game that I love after, finishing with all the job stuff and whatever is really nice. And I did not feel that with Edge of Fate. I was not like getting off after a day of streaming. We're still doing the comparisons, but I have to, because I did not feel motivated to go and grind Caldera off stream. That was a stream thing. That was the work. When I'm off, I'm like, I'm chilling, I'm doing something else, I'm watching a TV show, or I'm like, just chilling with my family. But like, with Renegades, I was like, yeah, I'll just do another. I found myself at like 2 a.m. I was supposed to go to bed, but I was just like, oh, just one more Lawless Frontier. Obviously, don't really feel like that now, because we're done with the DLC and the honeymoon period is over. But back then, I was like, oh, let me just do another one. Because, you never know what I'll get. Or maybe I'll get a crystal, or maybe I'll get like a cool roll of a gun. Because when nobody really knew about like how overpowered the hand cannon was, or how good the accelerated assault really mattered, things like that. So yeah, I loved it. It was very engaging. I'd never felt really like that with any activity. Completely agree. Best seasonal / expansion activity completely dwarfs other things. Like, you guys remember Wellspring from Witch Queen?
Yeah.
How far we've come.
I may have run Wellspring twice in my entire time playing Destiny.
Dude,
And I remember
exactly.
both of those runs. They were painful. They were long. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, there's something to there's something to the direct chase. I think with the portal, they were trying to get player agency up, right? That's why they put all these customization pieces. But they've reverted a lot of that, right? Like with the Lawless Frontier, there's baked in modifiers, right? Like these are the things you're going to encounter. You're going to encounter Banes. You're going to have these pieces here where the player agency ties into. And I think the system is not perfect, but it's realistically, I just wish there was a clearer way where I didn't have to open a sidebar to see what my bounties are or my contracts are, and then click back out of it, and then like, hold up, what job did I need, and go back to it and click back in and try to like find a match. Like, I wish that there was a way that it would like indicate and be like, hey, this is the golden mission that you should run because it's going to nail the most things at the same time. But it only takes a little bit of time to be able to pull that. I think that is where they put the player agency, right? Like, they said, okay, I do not like smuggle missions, but I need to do one that's, against Tharsis Reformation, in their area, and then whatever, I need to do a bounty hunt. And so you can try to pull those together and like, okay, I need to use a piker ability, and just blending those and then giving us the abilities, the ability to, to really express ourselves in that manner, choose what we want to do, and then kind of go from there. And I really think that that's why they've nailed it, right? Like that makes you feel like you're in control enough of it, but then at the same time, it limits all of the modifiers that are on there, which then keeps the player population going, right? Like, that solves that issue, because if you could just customize it however you want to, you're either then in by yourself and you got to go in a fire team of 3, or you're by yourself, right? Like, you're fully separated off, or you're ending up in a situation where you're trying to find people that have a niche, like they want to play the exact way you do. This is a good thing where they have limited the amount of things that you can do there, and make you feel like you're in charge of it. But at the same time, you're kind of just, you're finding the right place to engage with the content. For me personally, I found going back and just kind of vibing on the planets, right? Like, the freedom, right, of exploration, even on these individual planets. There was a bit of conversation I saw online about them not being roamable patrol spaces with public events and where you can take your Sparrow out and do all these things. I don't think they needed to do that. I think we have enough time inside of these Lawless Frontier missions where you can explore and do that. And so do you guys feel like they've nailed these locations down, and how would you like to, is there any way you would like to see them iterate on it, in the future? Like, let me ask more directly. Do you think that they need to return at some point to complete patrol spaces with public events and things of that sort? Or do you think that this kind of nails the new location type vibe for these expansions?
I think they can have both. I think one of the things I remember Bungie saying is that in the year of Frontiers, as it was called back then, they just wanted to try stuff. They wanted, Edge of Fate was a Metroidvania campaign, and obviously we didn't know anything about Renegades, but I think they just wanted to try scrapping the patrol thing and having it just as part of the experience of the DLC. And I think it would be nice, maybe with Shattered Cycle, to go back to a traditional patrol space, but then with the Alchemist we can try something else. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, we must have a patrol space every expansion, otherwise it's bad. Just try new stuff. I don't mind. I think I like the way they handled it with Renegades. Favorite map, Venus for sure, because obviously we haven't been there in God knows how long. Toad, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for years, I mean, I don't know when maybe since not Witch Queen, maybe it was Lightfall, that I don't really like Bungie feeling like they need a new patrol space every single expansion. I think that, when was the last time you went to the moon in Shadowkeep?
Exactly.
And did something there for some reason? I feel like we have so many locations in Destiny that I would not complain if Bungie has an idea for a patrol space, like in old Chicago, if we end up going there, and they're like, okay, we have this cool idea for how a patrol space could interact with the skyscrapers of Chicago and like the underground area where there's these big hive monsters, and we think players would have fun in a more traditional patrol sense, then I think they should do that. But for Renegades, they clearly were like, we already have places that resemble these Star Wars locations. We don't need full patrol spaces for this. So why waste resources doing that when resources could go to other places? So I don't want them to feel bound. Like what Llama said, I think they should just go with the flow. If a location is going to lend itself to a patrol space, then do it. And if it's not, then put those resources somewhere else, right? Give us more like unique areas. Like Renegades had quite a few unique areas, like the Death Star, that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do if they were fixated on making a Venus patrol space. So in a perfect world, maybe we could have both, but really, like, how often do you go back to the moon? Or Europa? Like, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah, other than farming those bounties for the next expansion. That's that's when all of those locations would have those spikes in player population. I also think Lama, I think it was to your point earlier when we're talking about all the different locations that we already had available to us, but then we're trying to capture the essence, right? The essence of Star Wars, and wanting to do this and wanting to have the Venus location, the swamplands, and wanting to have the ice location and then the Mars, and kind of pull all that together. It is unrealistic for really any game company, for in the amount of time and the amount of content that we were getting, that we would have a completely patrollable space on all three locations. So I really think they nailed it for this instance. And Toad, I 100% agree with you. I think it is totally gameplay dependent on whether or not the game calls for it, right? Like, take the Witch Queen. The Witch Queen was a perfect example of, like, we needed this location. We needed to go to Savathun's throne world, to be entrenched in it, to understand. And I feel like it really helped us understand more of who she was.
Well, we keep in mind, we had also never seen a throne world. Like, we didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, Dreadnought was sorta, right? Like,
I guess that's true. The Dreadnought's kind of a throne
That's
world.
like an asterisk, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it's getting pulled into our existence. And so the Dreadnought was the closest thing. But I'm with you, right? Like, we're fully entrenched. And so, like, what are the capabilities here? I remember us walking through Savathun's throne world and looking up in the sky and just seeing her looming there. And just remembering, like, I mean, there's nothing we can do that's without, like, or that's outside of her eye.
This is
what
her
I mean?
turf.
Exactly. And so remembering that was peak for me. That was like, this is incredible.
It's one of my favorite locations, the Savathun's throne.
Right. And so, but then think about it this way. It's like, okay, so we did a bunch of things during Ash and Iron, and Maya's just poking through a weird hole in the sky. It's like, I don't feel it was weird. It was weird looking to the sky. It was like a peeping Tom situation. I'm like, what are we doing? Though that's two similar ideas, right? Like, so an antagonist looming over and watching our efforts, but completely wrong. Right? Like completely different. It's like you nailed it the first try and then like tried to circle back. I'm like, I don't even understand what this is. So I say that to say, like, I am so dialed in on the fact that, like, hey, if we have an expansion that calls for it, this is going to be a highly stylized story on this location, right? To the Edge of Fate's, credit, right? Like, we got a new location, but then, and they tried something, right? Like, they said they were going to try something. They did this Metroidvania thing. It depends on if you liked feeling like you were going to throw up, the first day because the ball was going to spin around in the camera and everything. But, we have these environmental stories. But like we already said, you could not fully level by playing that content. So people just did not go back to that. So when I think of, the Edge of Fate and I think of the location, I think of Kepler, I just think of Caldera. That's really what I think about.
Association, yeah.
Well, and as far as the patrol spaces are concerned, like, I think Pale Heart is one of the best patrol spaces we've ever had.
Yeah.
And like every time we get a new one, I spend 12 hours in every patrol space, and it's helped me to kind of gauge, okay, how good is this one compared to the last one? Pale Heart to me is still like the best. But like Kepler, I don't remember anything I did on Kepler at all. Like, I was entertained enough for a few hours, but I don't remember anything past that. Renegades, I was far more, now granted, it's not patrol space, it's the Lawless Frontier, right? But I was far more engaged for the entirety of my time just playing in the Renegades play spaces than I was for Kepler and for, you know, whatever else. Like even the Dreaming City was one that I did. Like I really, really enjoyed the Lawless Frontier and the Pale Heart. To me are like really good examples of how they handle it very differently. Pale Heart's a lot more traditional, but they both work for what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah. It's actually interesting if you think about it. The Pale Heart and Renegades and the Lawless Frontier are not that different if you think about it, because they have the 3 individual load zones with 3 individual, you know, circumstances, enemies that you're fighting off, the actual events that you're doing in those locations. You
won't
know
find
what you're
random
into.
people in those locations. It's a max of like 3 people.
Obviously, you could explore much more of the Pale Heart than you can with Renegades, but it's interesting that they've started to look at the game dev, right? They've started to look at, hey, this is what we need to make, and here's what players are going to. And I do feel like they're getting smarter. They're working smarter, not harder, in a lot of these situations. To like what you guys are saying is like, well, if I have Shadowkeep and I build back now, thankfully that effort was a repurposed effort from the moon early on, but you know, bringing that back so they didn't have to fully craft it again, but they did. There's a lot of areas on the moon that we just do not use, you know, going back to that stuff. So,
well, and like you were saying, it's a work smarter, not harder thing, right? I mean, Bungie, it's no secret they're like smaller than they've ever been, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I often say when me and my brother are talking about Destiny is what scares me about Destiny's future isn't that they have good ideas. It's not the 9 and how hard they are to understand sometimes. It's their budget. Like, I don't know what Bungie's budget is on Destiny right now, and so I am a big advocate of wherever you can cut cost. If you see people don't visit these patrol spaces after a couple weeks, don't make them. Like, make something else that we will actually engage with. You know, I want Bungie to succeed. I'm not going to sit here and give them unrealistic, you know, just make a patrol space that I'm not going to use. Like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
well, to talk about stuff that people do engage with, let's talk now about the Praxic Blade.
Yes.
And acquiring everything, and we will encompass and we'll pull in the invasion of it all when we talk the red. And so you seem very mild mannered about this and not excited at all to talk about the Praxic Blade.
What's the Praxic Blade? I don't know what that is.
Could you help maybe if there is someone who happened to stumble across this and they're listening to it, could you kind of explain what the Praxic Blade is and then what the chase was like for these individual crystals?
Yeah, so the Praxic Blade is the lightsaber. It's a kinetic special weapon. I think I'm getting that right. Kinetic special weapon, very customizable. It has cores, it has mods, it has colors, but anyway. And like you said earlier, it can interact with a lot of different parts of your kit. And it's generally just very, very good. You get the Praxic Blade in the campaign, but then after that, that's the real chase that we've been talking about, is the colors, the mods, and some of the 12 colors. 3 of them are in the shop, but the other 9 are all like random. I don't think there are any that aren't random to some degree. Even the blue and green, some people get blue, some people get green, then you get it afterwards. And I think that is one of the best decisions they've made since Final Shape. Like, we all talk about Destiny 1 so much because we remember those moments of like, oh my god, I got Gjallarhorn. The Praxic Blade, when you get that cyan crystal or that dark crystal or that red crystal, like, those are the moments that me personally, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, when I say like that sticks with you and you remember that, you're like, I cherish this crystal because it was hard to get. And hard to get random, some people may, you know, fight over the use of those 2 words. Sure. But yeah, it's like Llama was saying earlier, having something sometimes that is random. You know, Destiny is a franchise that was built on RNG, and over the years we've gotten very safe. Bungie, I think there's new age Destiny players, the new age community, and then there's like the old guard. And if we're like the old guard, we remember the days of grinding your ass off to get something, right? And maybe having a chance to get it. And the Praxic Blade, I think, has been such a big win with people, not just because it's powerful, but because it has brought back that feeling of the chase, not knowing if you're going to get something. Nowadays in Destiny, save for the raid exotics, you know when you're going to get stuff. The Praxic Blade threw that out the window. And it said, no, you don't know when you're going to get this. You might not ever get this. And that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of Destiny RNG. So I love the Praxic Blade. I'll shut up about it, but I really think it was a big win. I think it was a big step in the right direction, and I want to see more stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, Llama. I want to pitch it over to you, and maybe you can help people understand like some of the things that you actually have to do, like just giving a baseline for some of the different colors in specific.
The easy ones are the ones that are attached to like the maps. So you've got Venus, Mars, and Europa. They all have a crystal attached to them, and the only way you get them is just like a random chance at the end of completing a job from that map.
And easy has a big asterisk on it because those are the only ones I do not have. I don't have any of the random ones from the locations. I got the Taken crystal, I got the red crystal, I got the cyan crystal, I got the yellow crystal. I don't have the ones that are quote unquote
Taken
easy.
First try, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did as well, actually. Funnily enough, because
oh my god,
it was on a technicality.
I know. I got it. I was told the odds to get the Taken crystal were like 1 in 20, and if that's true, I got it right at odds because of my 20th clear.
That's crazy.
Nice, but yeah, like I could go to that. Like the Taken one is from dungeon encounter completions. It is technically full runs, but like you can do it in like an order you like. So the reason why I thought I got it on my second track technically, but because when we were doing the contest, I was doing it on Warlock, so I did the first 2 encounters of my Warlock, and I swapped to my tie-in for the last encounter. And when we finished that, I went back and did normal mode on my tie-in, the first and second encounters, and I got the dark crystal to drop from the second encounter, so it looped back on itself. So it was technically my first clear for that character. But obviously the red one comes from invasions, which is like really cool, makes perfect sense as well, like evil red from doing evil things, killing other people while they're minding their own business. The only ones that are like a bit specialized are like the cyan one. That's also like, I made a video where I was explaining where you can get every single crystal from, and at the end I had like a piece of advice for people farming them. I was like, you should go for cyan first, because if you go for cyan you will naturally be hitting things that let you get other ones like indigo, orange, and magenta, which are the ones that come from all the planets. And then at the same time you're going to be completing orders, which is where the yellow one comes from, and the cyan one is just from the exotic contracts. They did buff the drop rate off, so I remember after they patched the drop rate, it took me 2 exotic contracts to get the crystal. I think it took me like 7 failing before that. But no, it's great. It's like it all like at the end of the day, it's just play Renegades, and any part of Renegades that you play, there's a chance that the crystal comes from that. It's like, you want to play Venus? Yeah, crystal comes from that. Dungeon? Yep. Invasion? Yep. Orders, which is the new system they made. Yep, there's one from there too.
One thing that's interesting to me is it seems like the first in a new wave of how they're going to handle customizable exotics. So I say it that way because this is an exotic mission weapon with a lot of things you can swap on it that historically they would have routed directly through Savathun's throne world and the Enclave.
Yeah.
And they have not.
I'm glad they've managed to detach that, actually, because it's quite cumbersome trying to actually find the Enclave as like, especially as a new player. I'd imagine it'd be more difficult.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys know that is my bread and butter. I'm helping people all day, every day, basically, with how to get these exotic mission weapons, and it is amazing that people are still so ravenous for them, and they just it has become so opaque on how to do that. And then the one extra step that I had to realize that I have to put in there in each of these videos is, hey, go to the world tab and go to Savathun's Throne, because people who are just starting playing, it does not make sense, right? Like, they don't know when crafting was put in the game, things like this.
And also now Mars is in 2 different places. It's in the Renegades menu and
exactly.
It's kind of strange to me that the Enclave is still in the throne. Like, I get it, but it is a little confusing if you don't know that.
Yeah, I think it's a little cleaner just because you have to, you like owning the Witch Queen campaign and having that put in there. But it is interesting, like you said. It's interesting that they chose that her throne world was going to be hovering over Mars, and then we're going back to Mars, but we're on like a fully different location, things of that sort. So, but yeah, my opinion on the Praxic Blade stuff early on was, I kind of love trolling my community a little bit. We had so many people who were getting frustrated with the invasions of it all and trying to, they're like, oh, I've done 36 attempts. I'm like, keep grinding, brother. Keep grinding. Like, it was so much fun just to kind of poke and prod. And I had guys in there that were, they're like, this is crap. And I'm like, you're not going to feel that way. As soon as that drops for you, you'll have that.
Yeah, winning gear is everything.
Exactly.
I would love to know. We talk about alternate realities. I would love to know how many people actually would have the Undertaker title had it not been for the red crystal being tied to that. Because I don't think that there would have been a lot of people. There are a ton of people running around that have that Undertaker title because they got it before they got the crystal to drop. Right?
I got it by accident.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got it by accident.
Just wasn't paying attention and doing that. So
It was a surprise to me that they actually put out a title for Invasions. I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought it would just...
It is a weirdly specific thing
right?
to have a title for. No, I was just going to say, like, in my excitement about the Praxic Blade, I forgot to mention the whole it being randomly tied to these certain things, but I think something that's great about it, especially right now, is all these colors are optional. Like, you don't need any of these to do what you need to do with the Praxic Blade. I would personally like to see them expand it to things that aren't so optional, because to me that's what Destiny is. But I get why Bungie doesn't want to do that. You know, they're scared that will. I mean, you were just saying people in your community just to get the red crystal were like, oh, this sucks. You know, I don't like this. Why can't I just have it? You know, because they're not used to that. We haven't had to grind stuff in Destiny in a long time.
It's very true.
I think it's good that they're getting their toes wet with this again.
Yeah. The amount of times that I was thinking through, I'm so thankful that we have a weapon finally that you can use in its full capacity to unlock in its full capacity. It feels weird to say it that way, but right, like when we get these weapons, you can, like, Choir of One's a fantastic weapon on its own right, but realistically, like, you're trying to grind to that destabilizing rounds, my opinion, humble opinion. I like, that's what you're going for. And so, like, until you get that right, it feels like a lesser weapon. And there's a lot of people who, like, bought it from Xur when it was available, and then they never crafted it, and they just have this, like, base level version. Yeah, it's a pretty good gun. Or you have the catalyst and do all that. There are some upgrades that have, but base level Praxic Blade still rips. It is amazing. And it just shreds everything. And obviously we have an artifact that's completely tuned to it. So it will be interesting to see how when we turn the corner and we get into the next expansion, we get a new artifact altogether, what that looks like. But I'm very impressed by how they rolled that out.
I have a question more geared towards you, Sax, because you have clearly engaged a lot with the crafting enclave end of things with these craftable exotics. So I haven't really engaged much with the craftable exotics at all for that reason. I can't really be bothered to go do the exotic missions a whole bunch to get that catalyst. But do you think that the way they handled the Praxic Blade in comparison to something like a Choir of One, or what's the Osteostriga other thing that we talked about? It? Barodiad, yeah. Do you think this is a better way for them to handle craftable exotics going forward? Because crafting is still... Actually, I think Dado said we've technically had more Destiny time with crafting than without it now.
Yeah.
But it seems like Bungie's pulling back a little bit on it. And this, like you just said, is a very different approach to crafting. Do you like this better than the Barodiad Choir of One like way that they were doing it?
So acquisition's hard to say, right? Because it's still tied to the exotic mission. We have, basically we're split, not exactly down the middle, but we're split when it comes to exotic missions. So the vast majority of them can be farmed. You can get all of the upgrades through the portal exotic missions. The only exotic craftable weapon that is in the game that is not actively in the portal is Revision 0 with the Seraph Shield mission. They've not brought that over yet. That's the only one that you have to wait for the rotator to happen, which is so dumb because literally Kel's Fall, Encore, and the like, any of the exotic missions that did not have like old craftable, you know, so like, for example, you can get all the season of the Seraph weapons from Seraph Shield as well. So like the new Ikelos, or the last time they revised Ikelos weapons and things of that sort, you can get those patterns from that. So at least you're getting something when you run them. Encore didn't have anything. You go into Encore right now through the Legends rotator, literally nothing drops. I'm not kidding. You open the chest, there is not a single thing that drops. You don't even get a blue. Like really? Nothing drops.
So funny.
And people get so pissed at me. I get so many messages. This week, Kel's Fall is in rotator. In the rotator. the amount of people who say this is BS, you lied this entire video. No, you just didn't watch the beginning. I said,
It's
hey,
your
in the
fault,
portal,
Zach.
you
It's
can do
your
this
fault.
at any time. I'm like, brother, you can do this at any time. But they're not paying attention, and it's not really their fault either. Right? Bungie has this rotator. That's how we did it in the past. If they're a returning player, I don't expect that they're going to see my video before, but like Bungie does not signpost that you can get these from there. And so there's like half of them, or a little more than half, that now literally the first time, if you don't have the weapon unlocked, you do it on normal difficulty the first time. You get the weapon, a catalyst, and an intrinsic. And then after that, you run master or higher, and you will get a catalyst and an intrinsic. So 1 and 1 on subsequent runs until everything's unlocked. Okay. So they did that this season with, it was the second week, 9.5.0.1. That's when they rolled that out. Now, you have things like Heliostat. You have things like now, what is it, Fire and Ice, or is that the name of the the mission?
Yeah, the lightsaber.
You have 0 Hour. You have the Whisper. These all have quests or puzzles associated with them, and that they are like kind of like set off to the side. But they still kind of muddy the waters a little bit, because we had puzzles, right, for Encore. We had puzzles in Kelsfall. Like, we had puzzles for all of these.
Are they not
that
in
are
the
no
Portal
longer
versions?
active. They're not.
Oh,
There's no
really?
puzzles.
Oh, that's
No
so
puzzles in the
strange.
Portal versions. And so I did a long like 5-hour stream one night trying to figure out, because the intrinsics for Slayer's Fang were broken last season.
Yeah.
You could not get the things, and it said it inside the portal. What we were trying to figure out, they had pulled out. There were like these invisible lanterns that were in different places that you needed to shoot with the Slayer's Fang. They just were gone last season. They just didn't put them in there, and they broke the intrinsics. And then like you could still play the organ, and it would say something happened. Then you go to the room where the organ opened up or whatever. Nothing happened.
Happened.
Oh, dear.
And so guys, if you don't understand, I'm very passionate about this, because I have a lot of people who've done this.
No, it's
But
so
it's-
good that you're tackling this, by the way, because even I had a question earlier when you were in my stream. It's like,
Exactly. Oh yeah, Avalon's another one. There's no puzzles. There's nothing tied to it. It's all just go in normal version for the first time. If you've never completed it, you'll get the weapon, 1 catalyst, 1 intrinsic, and then from there you do master difficulty or higher. There's rumors you can do GM difficulty and get 2 to drop at one time, but I've not confirmed that for myself. It's hard. I run out of characters that I can go do it on, because you can only unlock it so many times. So like, I literally, Llama, we were talking earlier in your chat, you were saying like, has anyone played the new light? That's why I'm doing that.
Yes.
I didn't try to do it as like a solo flawless thing. That's kind of like a joke where I've just not died on that account for 10 hours. So every time I log in, it's super stressful, because I'm like, I don't want to die to like a Cabal drop pod. And so I'm kind of trying to level that account up little by little, so then I can go try to like solo flawless Shattered Throne or something, like first try without dying. But like, I'm probably just going to die to some bullshit, honestly.
You're gonna fall off the map.
For real.
That's so annoying though, like how there's 2 different versions of the same mission. One has puzzles in it, one doesn't. They give you the same gun, but one gives you the portal.
None of the puzzles in the rotator are active either.
Oh,
so literally, so yeah. No, they're all gone. They're all gone, other than the ones I rattled off, like Fire and Ice, 0 Hour, Whisper, and then finally Heliostat. Those are the ones where you have.
Okay.
I call them puzzles. It's just you got to smack in Heliostat with the axe. You're smacking things around.
Yeah.
So to get to the actual crux of what you're asking, like how they handle the rollout, I think that the portal rollout is a little clearer cut, just because you don't have to be like, okay, is this upgrade going to be sitting on this table tomorrow? Like, like, can I get it there, or what vendors can I pick this up from and do that? But I do like the fact that there's puzzles and intrigue, and being able to see Blight sit in places and go and smack them and unlock catalysts inside the dungeon, and or upgrades or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that that's fun, and I'm hoping it would be awesome if somehow they were able to implement the back end system of swapping the individual nodes and things for the weapon on the actual weapon, like they have with the Praxic Blade.
Yeah,
that would be sick. That would be sick. I just don't think
Not in the enclave, but in your inventory.
Yeah, I just don't.
That's such a massive step to skip. Like, you just think about like the amount of clicks it takes to go from like the portal to Savathun's throne world. You go to the world tab, click on the throne world, then in there, and it's obviously, I guess it's not that many, but it takes you away from the new main menu, which is the portal. So.
Yeah.
And God knows Destiny has enough screens, man.
I
We
know,
got on
it's-
Renegades,
yeah.
and like my fiance only plays when I drag her into it. She was like, "What am I looking at?" Like I was like, "Oh, go to the order." She's like, "What's an order?" And it's like 3 screens deep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Oh,
god.
the worst one is the Vanguard alerts, because I know they said that they're trying to work on like a new button for them, but you have to go into the seasonal hub and it doesn't start you there. It starts you on like your overview. So you have to go in there, which is a small button to start with, like a small rectangle. Then you pan to the right, and there you are in your Vanguard alerts. One of the best parts about Renegades is the Vanguard alerts. So I hope they actually expedite the process of getting a bigger button for that somewhere. Yeah.
That's not what I expected you to say. I thought you were gonna say like expedite getting more stuff in there. Not,
Yeah,
I
Just
understand.
make a bigger
Yeah.
button.
To the point you were saying, but like I hope
Yeah.
there's a bigger button for
Yes,
that.
I
That was funny.
do.
So,
I do.
yeah, I mean, it's spot on. So, all right, let's talk now about the new class of weapons they introduced. These heat weapons, or the blasters, as they put it. I was going off the Bungie roadmap, they said, and they specifically said like we've introduced a new. I say roadmap, air quotes, not the graphic they put out that said, "Hey, here's what's coming with everything." And they call them blasters, but we got the heat weapons, right? We have the balanced and the dynamic heat weapons that provide a varied method of reloading in this kind of like power fantasy, right? Where you are utilizing a weapon in your hands, and if you keep firing, you keep spamming the weapon over and over and over again, you have to cool it off. Actually, I kind of like that they use third iteration as their proof of concept for this, right? Like we didn't know.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, they didn't. We didn't know that they were doing that, but they
wow.
kind of cooked that, right? Like with third iteration, and then turned the corner for this. So, Llama, how do you feel about the introduction of these new weapons? And are they too broken, or is this something where they're going to have to continue to add things, or should this be like a moment in time for Renegades owners and enjoyers?
There's quite a few things I want to talk about. First
For
of all,
sure.
with third iteration, you were exclaiming there, Toad. I did see there was a tweet from you may have heard of Mercules, right? He works on PvP, and he was actually the lead for all of the blasters. Like that was basically his project, and he was saying that because somebody asked him, "Oh, why can't you turn third iteration into a blaster, kind of go backwards?" And he was explaining that third iteration was, like Zach said, like the sort of testing the waters with that system, but it was built entirely differently as well. So just another cool fact is like they couldn't actually
Like
go
under
back
the
and,
hood, it's not technically a blaster.
yeah, it's
Also-
very different.
Mercules, the Star Wars podcast host, they have, I think it's like Under Two Suns. I think that's their Star Wars podcast. So,
Oh, right.
Oh, nice.
go check it out. So,
Oh, I didn't know that actually. No, cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, obviously, yeah, they work very similarly. Anyway, yeah, blasters. There's quite a few primary weapons. There's two different frames. They have like very cool interactions. Like the balanced weapons have perfect vent, which is really nice. But one thing I didn't know about was the dynamic heat limiter that the dynamic ones have, which let you like shoot the weapon a lot longer than it normally does, which is really cool. I think like having a little skill check inside of a weapon is quite nice. Because it makes a huge difference on the dungeon sniper. Because I don't know if you guys knew this, but the dungeon sniper is a 140, so it's a rapid fire. But compared to other rapid fires, normal non-heat rapid fires, it actually does 50% more damage at base than like a non-heat rapid fire sniper, which is insane. So like, given that it's the only one in the game that does that, it's like very desirable. It gets double damage perks as well. You can get a Vorpal bait and switch, makes it very good for like a long range precision damage option. Not very relevant these days, but for something like a Witness or an Oryx, it might be good in the future. So that might cause some sort of problem if there ever arises a situation where you want to use a rapid fire sniper, which you might. I remember using it myself in like the Desert Perpetual day one. I was using like Predator's Revenge, but if I had access to Conspiracy Honed, I would 100% use that just because of how much better it is. And if you
Maybe if we get like a Pantheon 2 type thing soon.
yeah, well,
good there.
yes, it could be. I hope we do.
It could be.
Yeah, versus some of those bosses. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a lot of them are primary weapons as well. The Fast Talker, the SMG has a very good place with like Titans and PK builds. Very good, strong with that. I don't think the primaries cause like a huge balancing issue, despite them doing more damage than all other primaries of the same archetype. The only reason being is that primaries as a whole are just very weak. You guys may have seen the conversation, over the past few weeks, being like primaries are just like they don't really do much in the game anymore. They're more like utility weapons versus weapons that you actually use to kill enemies with, because like we're very much in a ability meta. It's all about like getting out your abilities, throwing one scatter grenade and the entire room dies. So you use your weapons to support you with perks like attrition orbs on like your multi-mac, or chaos reshaped on the Yeartide to heal you in the background while you are just doing your ability spammage. So I don't think that like these primary weapons are going to cause much of a balancing issue, like the blaster ones. I mean, maybe in the future if they decide to buff primaries, which they should. And actually, maybe I want to get your opinions on a rather radical solution I've seen people throwing around, is to use or to go back to the Destiny 1 system where you're forced to use a primary weapon. So you have a primary, a special, and a heavy, so you're not allowed to run double special. Maybe you can say some thoughts on that. I would honestly be down for it at this point, because
knee-jerk reaction.
God,
I like it.
Yeah, I wish Aegis was here, because I would love to hear his opinions on that, because he's the double special guy. So.
Yeah. As much as I love running double special, there's something about, I think it would feel really bad. I would only be okay with going to that system if they also buff primaries at the same time. It wouldn't just be like
for sure.
if flipped a switch and it happened today with how primaries are. It would just feel really terrible, because like primaries they don't do too much for you if you're getting really down to it. But I'm trying to think what other examples of like good guns.
They'd also they'd also have to raise reserves on some weapons. They've dropped reserves on some special weapons that I feel like if that's the only choice that you're making, right, to have that. The main reason, like, we can't have the 18 rounds in Mint Retrograde anymore is because we have an Energy Mint Retrograde as well that would also have 18 rounds. So that's 8 extra rocket pulse shots instead of just the 4, right? Like that we're doing. But if you have 18, right, you're cutting that down from 28. That by 10 potential rocket pulse shots. They would have to bring those back up. Choir of One also caught that nerve. And things. So it is a solution. I don't know. There are some people that would probably riot in the streets because of it. Yeah. But when I think about things like forbearance, a lot of the really strong special weapons that we've seen kind of go by the wayside. I do think that there's a world where if you only had one, right, like you had one on you, there is a world where they could bring some of those back up.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, one of the things which I actually think is maybe more realistic, although it hasn't happened in, the whole time the franchise has been a thing, is that like I would love if the kinetic and the energy slots pulled from the same inventory, whereas they weren't separate. So I could use a Mint Retrograde in my energy slot. It would just, and then it wouldn't let me use another one in my top slot, but I could then put like, I don't know, like my solar rocket side, I'm up there, and then my mint down here, just to like, because I don't really think there's too much of a difference really between the kinetic and the energy slot. They both house energy weapons if you think about it.
It's really a relic from vanilla D2, right? Yeah. When we were bound to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'd like for them to have like a shared inventory. I think that'd be pretty cool. You still use 2 weapons, can't use duplicates, but it would allow some like cool combinations, like using mint and like a strand SMG at the same time. It would be really nice to have like a all strand loadout, for example. I think the blast weapon is really good. The only one that I think is like a balancing concern might be the sniper, but that's very specialized. That's literally just like if you're in a day 1 situation and you're trying to optimize for long range precision boss damage. That is the only place where like having a good conspiracy honed might be better than having a Pradiths or a Lance Ephemeral, whatever, things like that. So.
I think Uncivil Discourse needs to be looked at.
Oh, so I completely forgot. Yeah. How could I forget that?
I think Uncivil Discourse needs to be.
That thing is ridiculous.
I forgot. Yeah, that's that's 100% catching a nerve. Yeah, how could I forget about that? I literally soloed the Witness 3 times this past week using that thing. And it was so that's 100% getting nerfed. They're just going to give it like custom tuning with Lucky Pants and it'll be completely fine. But it's so much fun using it right now with the busted scaling that it has. That is probably my favorite blaster.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Toad, how do you feel about the blasters?
I do not have many thoughts on them, to be quite honest. Again, I'm not a very technical player. Like, when I first used a blaster in Renegades, the first thing I said was like, how is this any different than my normal weapon? I was like, eventing is just reloading. And then I started to feel out the differences. And like you brought up that little skill check you get when you reload them. I thought that was awesome. Like my favorite blaster is this Ellis Ideal because it can roll, I think mine is like heel clip and is it onslaught? I think it's heel clip onslaught. And I love that roll, and when you get the perfect vent, it feels fantastic. I probably won't be taking it off for a while, but yeah, I think they're really cool. I think they thematically fit with Renegades. I don't really have any thoughts as far as like balancing is concerned though. Yeah, I like them. I think Uncivil Discourse is the fan favorite for obvious reasons. But I like them. I think they're cool. I hope we see more of them. I hope it's not an exclusive to Renegades thing because I do think there's a lot you can do with it. And I'd like to see more exotic blasters in the future. They kind of remind me of like Covenant weapons from Halo with their overheating. I'd like to see more stuff like that. I think you could get really creative with it.
So right now they're sitting at top of the meta. It'll be interesting to see what kind of nerfs and tweaks they get in the coming seasons, the next year or so. For me personally, that would kind of signpost whether or not they intend to bring more to the game.
I find it kind of funny that I'm convinced they introduced crossbows on Kepler literally just to make room for the bowcaster, and the bowcaster sucks.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's a shame that
it's such a cool weapon archetype, and the one exotic it has is just buns.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
I was literally thinking the exact same thing because I was excited to play with it. I hoped it was going to be good. It hits like relatively hard, but it's just like a bit slow and clunky. And there's another thing as well. It like makes ammo at like a way less infrequent rate as well. Like when you're just getting kills with it compared to other special weapons, which is like really strange. Or at least I think so. And at least when I tested it, but yeah, I think Shadow and Order is bound to have more blasters. Or at least I hope anyway. I think it's going to be some sort of continuation of Renegades thing. I'd be surprised.
It sounded like we were looking for a hive arsenal.
Yeah,
in
like
the
a hive
leaked
foundry.
description.
Yeah,
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. Like I could see. I wonder if there's a world where they could find kind of like what you were saying was like, okay, the Halo Covenant weapons. They could use that same tech that they've developed for the heat, but allow these like maybe like the dynamic heat and the balanced heat, like allow those to be the Renegade examples of that. And we still have like the cooling method, and they could find creative ways to be like, hey, skill check on the reload, but in variety of ways. Because I don't know, Llama, you may have mentioned this, but the two different weapon types, like the balance and the dynamic, they actually have different reload skill checks to them, right? So what is it? Is it dynamic has it where you need to reload within the band before maxing it out? Isn't that like the little like percentage before, or am I getting that flipped
so
around?
Balanced heat is the ones that have the perfect vent, where if you do it where it's like above 85% or whatever, then it does like the perfect vent. You get the nice noise. The dynamic heat ones are the ones that if you reload where like the heat bar is like within the leftmost rectangle, it gives you like 4 seconds of dynamic heat limiter, and I think every shot that you fire after that consumes like significantly less heat. So it would actually, like an example of this is it allows the dungeon sniper to fire 4 shots like without this limiter active to 12. It's a huge amount before overheating. So it's a huge difference that it makes.
I wonder if there's a world where they could play even in that space a little bit, right? Like not make it like, oh, this is a blaster in my hand, but this is a weapon that's going to overheat in my hands. Because it doesn't, for me, like if we were actually to use hive weapons, it doesn't make sense that they would be, the same blasters
that's true.
The same blasters that this new Cabal faction has on hand. But it makes sense that weapons overheat, right? Like even our kinetic or our weapons that use real bullets, like in game, you can see the barrels light up, and they're hot. Yeah. So, sorry, Toe, what were you gonna say?
Actually, almost exactly that. I was going to say, like, I think we are going to see these heat-based weapons again. They're not going to be blasters. They're going to be Hive and Vex weapons. I think, like, alien weaponry generally is going to be where we see heat weapons going forward. Would be my bet.
That would be
just
sick.
because blasters are so Star Wars, but like Vex Mythoclast could easily be a blaster.
Oh,
like
my
why would we know how to reload it with actual bullets that we carry around? Not like Destiny's a magic game, whatever. But like if you pick up a hobgoblin sniper, I'd imagine that would be a heat weapon, right? Not something you load bullets into. Same with a knight's like boomer gun, even though we have Exderis, which is kind of the same thing. But like that would be my bet for where we see them again.
Yeah. They can easily make something out, because I think they just have the weapon frames, right? So they could make a dynamic heat hive weapon that, like, as you fire it, it generates like unstable magic that you have to vent as it gets, like, you shoot it for longer, and that's the heat in that frame. So I think that could be cool.
Yeah, it'd be super cool. So, well, guys, let's go ahead. We've talked a lot about the heat weapons. Let's talk now about how we can get some of the coolest ones, which is the Equilibrium dungeon. I want to talk a little bit. I've talked ad nauseum. I talked a lot about the contest experience, the balancing of it all, the chunk gate, stuff like that with Aegis when we last talked. So we don't necessarily need to get into all of that. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Toad, you and I have actually ran a little bit of dungeoning together and stuff, but Llama, how do you feel about the dungeon just as a holistic view?
I love it. I like an easy dungeon, I think. I saw a lot of discourse online after the dungeon came out. To be honest, primarily from people who care a lot about contest, I'm in that camp, but I'm also in the casual camp. I think I'm in a unique position where I really resonate with the casual crowd, but I'm also very into the end game. And I really like it, like an easy dungeon every once in a while, because it's so approachable. You get people playing it so often. It's so easy for people to jump in, and even with like 4 feats on, it's so simple. You can get it done in like half an hour. The challenges aren't hard. They're just little extra things that you need to keep track of in the back of your mind. And the mechanics are simple. The only thing I would say about the dungeon is that, like, because we're only getting one a year, from the point of view of the contest experience, it would have been nicer to have something that was a little more challenging. But you can only ask so much from a dungeon. It is ultimately something that is designed to be soloed. So Bungie have to find like unique ways around it being soloable and a trio challenge at the same time on contest. Vespers Host did a really good job of that, because there were 3 different jobs, which makes perfect sense for like a 3-person fire team. And obviously the damage check on Vespers Host was the biggest. It was like a survival and a damage check. So those things go, for a contest, that's perfect. But for Equilibrium, yeah, it was challenging. Obviously, World's First got beaten, I think, like 2 hours. My team, it took us 6 hours, but that's because we were just, Seer was actually a pretty difficult encounter. But yeah, I like an easy dungeon. I think it's great. It's a win. The music is excellent. The weapons are good. And actually, I can pull up, like, because I've been looking at this website from Cbro. It's this pgcr.report, and it just tells you like how many players are in the game currently and like what they are playing. And so there are 30. So this is updated 42 seconds ago. 33,000 people playing Destiny across all platforms. What do you think is the number 1 most played activity?
The dungeon?
I was gonna say Lawless Frontier.
It is the dungeon. It is. There's like
wow.
there's 2,700 people according to this website playing the dungeon right now, and then there's 2,700 in the tower. Then it's Trials, Crucible. Then it's quick play alerts. That tells you how good the quick play alerts are doing, and then after that, you've got your lawless jobs and stuff like that. So yeah,
that's an impressive. Like, I know the numbers don't sound as impressive when you break it down individually, but considering that something we talk about a lot is like a lot of people just don't engage with raids and dungeons, that's an impressive metric just on that alone. That's cool.
Yeah, now it goes to show it's like when you make a piece of content that's like, because somebody said, for a raid or for a rad activity to be enjoyable, it doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun in other ways. And I think Equilibrium is like the hype moments and aura dungeon, if I had to put like a phrase down to it. And that's what makes it fun. You've got your Emperor Palpatine boss and your Sith apprentice, like, dude who's just aura farming in the middle. It's cool. I love it.
Yeah, that reveal was awesome.
So good.
Toad, how'd you feel about having to run it back? Like, did it feel like a weight when you had to run it those 20 times to try to get the Taken Crystal, or is that something where you're like, okay, I'm getting a feel for this, and I see what they're putting, and I'm okay with having to exist in this dungeon for as long as you did?
Well, I think like the simplest way to kind of answer that is just to compare it to like if I ran Ghosts of the Deep 20 times, or Vesper's Host 20 times, or literally any Sunder Doctrine 20 times, I would not have run it 20 times. I would have given up around 10. Like I really like what Lama was saying. Equilibrium is generally easier, but not just about difficulty, because I still think Seer is quite difficult. Like even when you and I were running it, we wiped a few times. Like, and I think we're all generally pretty good players. But the thing that really gets me with Equilibrium, one of the reasons I like it so much, outside of the aura farming Sith Lord and the Star Wars of it all, is it's repeatable and it doesn't drag on. Like, going back to Ghost of the Deep or what's the Grasp of Avarice, I really don't like doing those dungeons on repeat because there are sections that really drag on. Equilibrium is straight to the point, and it feels a lot better when you are grinding for the crystal or heirloom or like whatever blaster you're grinding for. That's my biggest praise to Equilibrium is not all dungeons need to be harder than the last. I think that's this kind of misconception that the end game crowd has, is like, well, Vespers, what if Sunder Doctrine is not as hard as Vespers and it's a fail? I don't think that's true. I think it's good to have a gradient of difficulty in the game. And then players, especially new players, will feel that gradient out and find the dungeons they like the most. But yeah, I think generally, though, the highest praise I have for the dungeon is how nice it is on repeat clears. And I think on some level they knew that because people were going to want to grind the Darksaber. And because it's a Star Wars dungeon, you want to have a lot of people in your game be able to play it, even people who don't normally do dungeons. So I think it was intentional, and I'm glad that they did it that way.
I wanted to shout out the fact that you can get the secret chest every single time.
Yes.
Like go through to your point, to like the fact that they knew people were going to be playing them back, and they didn't do this arbitrary lockout on these pieces, right? They stripped away the necessity, or like the necessitating us of waiting week over week for farming raid and dungeon exotics and going through and in trying to unlock the red borders and things. Like, we're not tied to a rotator there, and so it feels like they weren't quite ready to implement that with Desert Perpetual, even though like you can go in and you can farm like encounters and you can get weapon drops and you can do that at any time. It feels like it's still just kind of a remnant. There are features of it and stuff, so that feel kind of like hung over from the old system. This feels like one of the first times where they're like, okay, this, like, our rad content is farmable. Our rad content is the thing you want to do in the end game. Let people engage with it as often as they want to go get those top tier weapons, not have this be the arbitrary thing that pushes it out over time.
Yeah.
And so my personal feelings, I love Equilibrium, and I know that people are loving it, not only from this PGCR site, but also just anecdotally from my audience and my Discord community. Like, people are in there grinding. They're in 3-man chats anytime. Like, there's a wide range of things that people LFG for, like different things, especially returning players. It's interesting what people struggle with, what they have trouble with. Anytime someone says looking forward to EQ, like, instantaneously, people are in there asking to throw feats on and do that. Llama, do you think that the ease of this dungeon is a direct result of the fact that the feat system exists for the dungeon? Do you think that they were giving some headroom for that? Or do you think it's just like, they're two things that exist at the same time?
I think there are two things that exist at the same time, because I have some separate thoughts about the feat system, actually. Obviously, they help with the loot quality. You only need to put 4 on to get tier 5s, which is fine. And it also helps that, like, they're actually, like, relatively not aggressive. Like, the phase limit feat doesn't even matter. What else? Like, the challenges are very easy, except maybe the first one is a bit of a drag because you need to use the bikes to kill the guys, but that's whatever. It's just like the first encounter, it gets over and done with in like 5 minutes anyway. What else is it? Battalions and forget the fourth one. The only things that are annoying, like the Drain Banes, I suppose.
Yeah.
But,
the limited revives are the last
oh yeah,
one.
the reses, right? Yeah, the res tokens. That's but yeah, that's just like fine, really. Just because of like the dungeon being as easy, well, like easier is doesn't really make the feats as effective or as felt as somewhere like Epic Desert Perpetual. I'm going to like reiterate something that I actually put out a tweet recently, where I really don't like feats like anymore with regards to like increasing the loot quality of an activity, because I really like them as like a method of tweaking the experience of the raid. It's much better than Old Master, in my opinion. I think having things like Cutthroat is really cool. But what I actually think should happen is that the feats that you apply should affect the quantity of loot that you get rather than the quality. So I think you should always get tier 5s at base from running the dungeon, because it's a bloody dungeon. It's the end game content. It's hard enough already. Same thing with the raid, because if I was to bring Epic Desert Perpetual into this conversation, that raid is really hard. It is like the hardest raid to run in LFG, hands down. There are seriously difficult encounters. Epic Epoptes is one of the hardest encounters in the game, like even for me and my raid team. And stuff like that, and you got to run that with no feats on. You get tier 3s, and then you got to put on battalions, and that adds drain.
The Epic Desert Perpetual doesn't auto drop 4 and 5s.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Oh my god!
So yeah, you got to make it even more annoying, and the way that you do that is by putting on battalions on. So that's going to add things like drain and rage banes into Epoptes, which is already hard enough. Then you've got and Cyclopses everywhere, 3 of them, raining death upon you.
Dude.
Then you've got limited reses. That's okay. Phase limit. That's also okay. But that's not enough. 3 feats on Epic Desert Perpetual is not enough. You will get tier 4s, but you'll have a low chance at tier 5s. You then need to put on encounter challenges, and the encounter challenges in the Epoptes encounter is really difficult, or it's just like a real pain. So the fact that you have to you have to do all this extra effort to get the best loot in the game, from an already impossibly difficult activity is bonkers. So that's why I think they should increase the quantity that you get. It should be tier 5 at base. How they could do that, I don't know. Maybe if you have like a 5 reward score, you get 2 extra drops per encounter or something like that. But it's
real quick. I do have to cut you off, because guys, if you don't know, he won't say about himself, but literally Llama's team was in like the absolute running for world's first for Epic Desert Perpetual. Like the people he's playing with, and like he has great knowledge about it. If I was the one saying this, you could be like, well, Sax, I looked at your raid report. You've only ran Epic like twice, dude. Like, get it? It's a little different. Like you can trust the opinion that like, hey, this is overtuned and stuff. So I wanted to throw that out there, because it is a valid opinion. I do think it's brutal. And to be honest, I have a whole group of Sherpas that help inside of my Discord. I work very hard to make sure that they understand the things that maybe they weren't taught by other clan leaders in the past, or people who just, were running it. And I want to kind of help them, help others, and kind of pass that down. I feel bad, but I really haven't taken a ton of time to pass a lot of that knowledge off to these, to that crew, because we're not taking a bunch of, brand new players into Epic Desert Perpetual, and 2, it is brutal. It's brutal even for really good teams to come together for that.
Yes,
dude, I haven't run Epic Desert Perpetual partly because I'm afraid of it.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
I have yet to run it.
It's fair enough, bro. It's fair enough. Like it's a cool. The worst part about Epic Desert Perpetual is that underneath it all, it is a phenomenal raid. It is like a really good raid.
Cool.
It like, especially the final encounter. It's amazing final encounter. Like it is like the peak of end game or like rad activity design. Like that final encounter is amazing. The ones before that are honestly a little bit too much, but it is still like a very challenging activity, and it's good, because I think it's fine to have like really hard raids, but there needs to be compensation for doing those activities if you manage to do them, and there is not enough currently. But the trouble is, like with feats not being tied to like the quality of the loot you earn is a direct consequence of like Bungie's philosophy with the Edge of Fate and like the loot system in general. I think it's very much an artifact of like a system where like it was only rewarded to people who like tier 5s, you only got them if you put hundreds of hours into Caldera. It's that same kind of mindset. Like that kind of, I don't really know how it would apply to Edge of like the feats in the Desert Perpetual raids, like as a whole, like a 1-to-1, but I do think it's from an old mindset, which I think Bungie have shifted away from. But I've been doing my best to give feedback on like the feats and stuff like that on Twitter, because they could be better, because you get showered with loot in Equilibrium, and like you saw, it's the #1 most played activity right now. So I think if Bungie took feats and tied them to quantity rather than quality, it would improve a lot more. And then add them to all the other raids in the game. That's a whole separate conversation. So.
that certainly is. So the replayability of old content, that's one of the things. And so here's what I actually want to wrap up the conversation with today. Mm-hmm. So to put a bow on this Renegades recap, the conversation leading into it was down the middle, right? There was individuals like you guys. They were like, okay, I like Star Wars. I love Destiny. We're putting them together. Two of my favorite things. It's like, my favorite 2 ice cream flavors. It's like, we'll just put them together, and it's better. And then there's people like me who was like, okay, I'm cautiously optimistic. I love Destiny. I have no negative feelings, positive, negative, whatever, towards Star Wars. Let's see how it went. I think it went fantastic. I hope, and I want to get your guys' opinion, like this next wave, right? The chaining of W's as it would be, as we've talked about, and moving into the future. I'm hoping that they can continue the momentum, because it would be pretty sad to feel that the only reason we got good Destiny content was because they were beholden to this deal that they had with, Lucas. What is it? LucasArts Games, Lucasfilm Games. Yes.
How much input did they have?
Exactly. And what does that actually mean for that? Toad, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that Renegade's success was a big part because
on the shoulders of Star Wars,
right? Or like because they were beholden to this deal and holding up their end of the the bargain, so to speak, on, hey, we're going to pull from this, or what's your gut say?
So that's something I've been thinking a lot about recently, and it's hard to say. Like, we'll see what happens with Shadow and Order, but also really Shattered Cycle. I know rumors have been swirling about a potential internal delay that's neither confirmed nor denied, but look, Star Wars has a lot of draw. Whether you love it or hate it, it has draw. Like, people will show up, because my cousin, great example, he hasn't touched Destiny much. He's been fiending it because it's Star Wars. Like, he loves it. However, I think that underneath the Star Wars coat of paint, Renegades is just a good expansion. Like, it is just good. Lawless Frontier is good. The Praxic Blade is good. The dungeon is good. The weapons are good. Like, the mini chases and things. It's felt very satisfying in a way that I think Destiny hasn't since like Final Shape. And ultimately, obviously, we don't know the specifics of the Lucasfilm deal, but I think that's because the team is starting to I want to believe, I'm coping, but I want to believe that the team and the people at Bungie, they're starting to maybe kind of get it again. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. I'm hoping that, look, maybe if over the next year we really do see, like, again, rumor, but like a Pantheon 2, and then maybe what if we see SRL and like some more random chase or just silly fun. I really want to see more vehicle combat come to the game. I thought Renegades killed it with its vehicle sections, and that's an avenue Destiny has kind of been iffy on really delving into. But between Heavy Metal and Renegades, they're getting a bit more into it. I would like to see them do stuff like that, and I think that if they want to make a splash, there are some things that are beyond, like, kind of detached from what we've all identified with as being the core of Destiny's loop, which is that loot grind, that exotic mission grind, whatnot. I think the most fun parts of Renegades have been the things that are a little bit more detached from that, like the cosmetic grind. The new weapons, sure, they're very, very good, but like Renegades just felt unique. Lawless Frontier felt unique. People call it a Helldivers clone, and like, sure, but I really want to believe that is a sign that maybe we're drifting more in that direction of like Kepler was them experimenting in a direction that didn't land with a lot of people, and Renegades was them experimenting in a direction that was a little more traditional with some differences, some more classic Destiny-isms like the RNG, some more new stuff like the vehicle and extraction shooter stuff. So hopefully they keep in that trajectory. But to kind of answer your question, I personally don't think Renegades was only successful because of the Star Wars stuff. I think it is just a good expansion. If it was a horrible expansion that looked like Star Wars, we would have all called it a horrible expansion. And like, as we've all seen in our community, is like, there are people who would have been ready and willing to like slit this expansion's throat if it was anything but good. Or anything like if this expansion was just passable, people would be tearing it apart. People would be having a field day. So
you never saw it.
I don't think so. And you didn't see it. So I don't think so. But we'll see. I think with Shadow and Order, even though it's still attached to Renegades, kind of, I think that'll be our first. You kept mentioning those chain of W's. If Shadow and Order is a W, we might be on the right track again, hopefully.
Yeah. One thing we didn't talk about, but how do you feel about the villainy of this all, the storyline, and do you feel like they have created a unique enough Destiny experience with some of these villains to be able to carry into something like a Shadow and Order and beyond, right? Like if this is all we get of these Star Wars-esque characters, that would concern me, right? Because there's a lot of fanfare there. So how do you feel about kind of that story aspect? I don't think any of us are really huge lore guys, like the Destiny lore side of things. So that's why I didn't dive more into that. Maybe I'll bring on an individual to talk about that at some point and kind of what that means. But I feel like it'd be a shame, right, if we don't see through the storyline of some of the things that they're outlining here, if they got bound up in what is Renegades. And how do you feel about that, like, into the future?
I think they will be using characters again. I think the most likely character that we will see again is Bale. I think they will probably forget about Honor, Premier Loom, people like that. Maybe Loom will be a strike boss, or I don't know. It's wrong to say strike boss because we haven't got a strike this whole year. So he'll be a boss of something.
Taken version.
Yeah, maybe.
He'll get taken off screen.
Yeah. Some significant.
Premier
event.
Loom was killed off screen.
Yeah.
Somehow Premier Loom returned.
Yes, there we go. Instead of Bale, it'll just be.
It's just like, as a tangent. Like, to me, Premier Loom, he wasn't a very interesting character. I thought he was going to be more center stage throughout the story, but actually, the thing that makes him a very interesting character is like one throwaway voice line that you'll like never hear unless you collect like these little data pads that are scattered across the maps, and it's a recording of him talking to Bale. You guys remember the cutscene at the beginning where he did his like Kylo Ren rage and he killed like that one legionary? So there's an audio log of Premier Loom like scolding Bale or being like, "Why did you kill that guy?" Like, he named him as well. I forget the name of the legionary, but he was like, "Why did you kill Dave? Like, he was a loyal legionary. Like, why did you do that?" And it gives a bit of context to who Loom is. I thought it was just a very interesting line. It was literally like a throwaway. So it would be nice to see him again, despite his funny sounding voice. But the main person that we will see again, 100%, I think, is Bale, because he is like the dark reflection of us, the outer orbit's chosen, whereas we are the inners. And the Alchemist, the DLC, well, we know from the lore now that the Alchemist is Saturn. So if 6 is definitely going to be a player in that upcoming expansion, and because Bale is like 6's champion, we're bound to see him again. Perhaps not with the red lightsaber, perhaps as just a Dark Guardian with a gun instead of a lightsaber. But I think we'll definitely see Bale again. At least I hope we do anyway, because there's still certain threads connected to him that have been I just personally like to see him again. Other characters,
I guess that right there, what you just nailed is like the root or the crux of my question, and Toad, maybe even you could expand on your thoughts a little bit too, is like, have they painted too, like, he's a great villain, I want to see more, I want to hear his story, have they painted him too much into the Star Wars box where he just is that character, right?
I was about to say,
he's the
yeah.
lightsaber wielding Guardian, right? Like, so obviously he has stasis powers. I don't think we've seen him use Strand, but I know we've seen him use stasis. Have they painted him too much into that box where it's going to feel like, all right, there's that Star Wars ring again. You know, they're ringing that bell every time. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, do we end up falling back on those tropes and we start hearing the orchestral music and like, it's like, where do these lines blend?
So that's the tricky thing, right?
Right.
With Bale is he is like in I don't know how you would say, like it's like inextricably like bound to Star Wars and Kylo Ren, and
Exactly.
that's something I want from the moment the campaign finished. The gears were turning of, okay, so we're gonna see this character again. The lore lady from Bungie that Bife has interviewed a couple of times. I'm forgetting her name right now. Allison,
I can't
Allison
remember her last
Lurs.
name. Yes.
She's all but confirmed in Bife's interviews that yes, we will be seeing Bale again, and he is going to be an important character. Like, you don't get Alex Lee to come in and voice someone like that if you're not going to bring him back. But like you just said, and I've been wondering the same thing, is that lightsaber, man, that's his weapon of sorrow as a Dredgen. Like, that is his thing. He stole that from Honor. I can't fathom seeing him, it sounds stupid, but just with a gun. But I would want to know, what are the details of that Lucasfilm arrangement? Like, how much of these Renegade characters and weapons are they able to use in promotional material for something that is not Renegades, that Lucasfilm is not attached to? Like, will you ever see Bale on another piece of Destiny poster or merchandise ever again? I don't know. It depends on their contract. Yeah. So maybe they could say, well, when he spun out in his ship after Drifter shot him, he lost his lightsaber. Yeah. And it's just out there somewhere, and we will never touch it. Yeah, it broke. It will never touch it ever again for legal reasons. Maybe, but obviously, like, we're going to see him again. I do hope that Bungie wrote somewhere in that contract, we are allowed to continue using these characters and the artifacts associated with these characters in perpetuity. Because I think that would be a shame. Like, you brought up Honor. If we ever see Honor again, who is a Praxic Knight, and we have established that Praxic warlocks and these characters use lightsabers, it'd be kind of weird if she wasn't using her lightsaber, exactly. You know? So, I don't know. It's like this weird legal territory, and it's the first time I think we've really had to think about that with Destiny, where it's like, legally, can we see this character again? We will see them again, but how? What will they look like?
It's a funny problem to have, isn't it?
I was almost thinking of like Bale in an other world, or like a multiversal type thing, where it's like we get this like archetype of Bale, but like this one has the mask on and the brooding Kylo Ren, and then like we go and we do, I don't know, some other thing where it's like he is this person who's being used, but for some reason he's being channeled in different capacities, and that's Bungie's way of
maybe they'll use Maya Sundaresh to pull in a different Bale that has nothing to do with
right.
Star Wars.
Right.
So we could continue using that character.
And then the one that we had in Star Wars is going to cut his arm off so he can try to
dude, keep up with the trend. He gets killed off screen. Drifter off-screens him.
Yeah. So, boys, thank you very much for your time. This has been awesome. We could probably expand on every one of these topics more, but I think getting the vibe and kind of having that conversation, I think both of us, or all three of us, like when I talked to you guys individually, we were like, hey, we should recap. We should circle back on this. It's been nice, not just doing one-on-one, but having some more people to bounce ideas off of. And it was awesome. Good fun. So, if you guys are still enjoying listening to the podcast, maybe consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We're still trying to grow things, and this is going to be a continued focus for me in the new year. Doing more of these, bringing more conversations to you guys. Remember, Forced Pod's coming back this week, so if you have any interest in something that's a little more variety, not specifically Destiny, but a little more variety, make sure you check that out. For Sax, Llama, and Toad, be blessed, y'all. We'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.